Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Well guys, putting together another odds and ends video for you again this week. We picked up a pile of new stuff for the shop here and I'm going to share it with you. So a little bit of update on what's been going on with me. This is my busy time of the year at work. I do a lot of traveling this time of year, and this past week I was down in the Orlando area all week long at a meeting. Unfortunately, we weren't having fun with Mickey Mouse. We were stuck in hotels all week long doing meetings. But while I was down in the area, I got an opportunity to go by and visit one of my viewers who had contacted me probably a month and a half ago that said he had acquired a bunch of stuff through an auction or something. I don't remember the details. And he says, you know, I just need this stuff out of my way. It was a bunch of things. He has a lathe, but that's about all he has. And there was a bunch of things that were just extra for him. And he asked me if I wanted them. I said, well, sure, you know, we'll take whatever you got. And if it's something I can't use, we'll try to find a good home for it. So anyway, I took the opportunity to go by and visit Mr. Richard Odell, which was just north of Orlando, on my way home on Friday afternoon. And I spent a little bit of time there with him. And anyway, here is a bunch of stuff that we picked up from him, and I've done some pre-sorting on it, but I've still got a lot more sorting to get all this stuff put up and where it can be used. But let's kind of zoom you in here and show you what all we got from Richard. So first off, in the dividing head area here, we picked up several items. And first off here, this is a little indexing tool made by Matco Tool Company. This probably would have gone with a tool room grinder or a tool and cutter grinder where you could put like an end mill in here and do some sharpening work on it. So it's actually a pretty interesting little tool, and while I don't have a tool and cutter grinder and I really don't know that I want to get into tool and cutter grinding, this is still something that may very well come in handy for all kinds of machining operations for oddball stuff. So this thing, you can rotate it in several axes. It bolts down to like normally a surface grinder. I'd probably use it on a milling machine, but you can rotate the bottom down here to whatever angle, and then this head will tilt up and down to an angle. And then in here you put a 5C collet to hold whatever you want to hold, and you actually have the ability to rotate this thing around. There are, on the back side of this, you can put in different index plates for different spacings and just click around to things. So this one's got a few little issues, but in the grand scheme of things, it's in pretty decent shape. So over here next to it is a very similar item. And this one here was made by the Abrasive Machine Tool Company, Providence, Rhode Island. It's number 407. And again, it takes a collet up here. I'm not sure this is a 5C or what, but this one here actually has a dividing head on it that you can use just like a dividing head. But additionally, it also has a plate back here in the back for different spacings on it. So this one here is not adjustable in all the different angles. It's just 90 degrees, so it's more like a dividing head. But anyway, and it's got some issues as well that we're going to have to get in here and play around with and try to figure out. But another interesting little tool. So also Richard had a dividing head. This one here is made by LW Chuck Company. I actually have a machine vise made by the same company. But dividing head, again, it has issues. We're missing all the handle stuff over here for spinning it. It's in rusty shape. But it very well may be a project that we can take on and see if we can fix. You know, I had a little Brown and Sharpe clone dividing head that I actually took completely apart and rebuilt several years ago. And, you know, I'm thinking this might be an interesting project at some point in time to see if we can't revive it. Now, I don't really need a dividing head. I've got a dividing head from my K&T mill. This is the actual dividing head that goes with that milling machine. But, you know, we could save this thing and get it running. I'm sure somebody out there could use it. So, anyway, we have that, and it comes with the footstock that goes on here with it. This here also has a few little issues, little modifications, I guess. This little handle on the back is not original. I'm not sure why it has that big plate on there like that, but it does. But anyway, maybe we can salvage that, make something useful out of it, keep it out of the scrapyard. There were boxes and buckets full of just all kinds of miscellaneous stuff, and I kind of got things sorted out by categories over here on the table. Ton of reamers in here. Some of these reamers appear to be in good shape. Some of them are obviously junk. I'm going to have to go through them and sort them out. I don't know how sharp or dull some of these are. It's somewhat of a crapshoot, but you know, I hate to throw this stuff away. Probably what I'm going to do is put all this stuff in some Evaporust, clean it up, and sort it out, and put what I can into my little index over there for reamers, and try to see if there's some stuff in there that's usable. A lot of times you really don't know how accurate it is until you actually use the reamer, and then you can check it with a gauge pen for accuracy. But anyway, we got a pile of reamers here. Some drill bits were in here. Here's some boring heads or boring bars. I've got a place over there where I store those. So on and so on. There's some hones down there. Picked up some collets. So these are 5C collets, which I can definitely use. The other ones back there are 1J. Now I have 2J collets that I use, and 22J collets, but I don't have anything that holds a 1J collet. So anyway, if somebody out there needs some 1J collets, we might be able to work something out there. Just all kinds of stuff here. I mean, there were some nice things in here. Here's a couple of V-blocks. These are definitely usable. You know, that looks like some type of fixture that was made, probably tool steel. Some go, no-go gauges here. I don't do production work, but those are still pretty cool. So you would adjust these with gauge blocks, and if it slides on, it's a go. If it won't slide on, it doesn't go. It's out of tolerance. And then there's a second measurement back here too, and same thing. If it stops before it goes on there, it's in tolerance. But if it goes past that, it's out of tolerance. So it's a quick little gauge that can be used in inspection work to determine if a part is in tolerance or not. And let's move the camera around. A lot of other stuff in here. So we got a couple of angle blocks here. This one here is interesting because it's got tapped holes in it, so you can use it kind of like a pallet. Another one here got a V-groove in it. This was obviously made by somebody. This wasn't something that was purchased made this way. It was probably made for a particular job somewhere. With these steps in here, it was probably made to hold something, but still it's something that we can probably use around the shop somewhere along the line. So some more reamers back here. These are some bigger reamers. Let's see, we got some nice tool steel here for making cutters. Here's a little chuck. Looks like it's in decent shape. Again, V-blocks. There's some taper shank drill bits and some counter bores up here. So anyway, some nice stuff. Like I said, I'm going to get through here and kind of sort all this stuff up and put it in where I have these things stored in my shop. And I have most of these, and I have drawers to put them in. So anyway, we'll probably just go through here. A lot of stuff needs to be de-rusted first. I need to go get some fresh Evaporust and start letting this stuff soak in there, clean it up, get it oiled up, and then I'll sort it all out and put it up. Also, very nice that Richard had that he gave me was 2 brooches. And you know, I've got a pretty good set of brooches, pretty much up to 3/4 inches, but there were a few that I were missing in there. And amazingly, both of these brooches were sizes that I needed. So anyway, I like this Minuteman brooch. These, of course, made, this is the same ones that I have that I use, made by Dumont. But I like this for pulleys, gears, collars, and kindred parts. Yeah, I like that. That's neat. So anyway, this is probably a pretty old one. Came in a wooden box, and this is a 5/8 E. I don't know that I have any E bushings, but you know, I can make those for no problem. And 5/8. I had a viewer not long ago contact me asking me if I had a 5/8 inch brooch. And it was the only brooch up to 3/4 inches that I didn't have. And I can't remember who that was, but I've got one now. So if I need to borrow it, let me know. Maybe we can work something out. The other one here is in this little tube. And this one is, what was this one? It's a 3/16 C. Now the C designates what size collar or bushing that you use with it. And I have A, B, and C bushings in my set, and then some that I've made over the years for special jobs or whatever. So I actually have a 3/16 B cutter, but I didn't have one that's in a C size. So it'll be nice to have this one to kind of expand my capabilities and be able to use some bigger collars or bushings for broaching. So anyway, two nice broaches, and with that, I mean, that pretty much, like I said, it wraps up giving me capacity for the common sizes up to 3/4 inches now for broaching. So here's my drawer with my broaches in it. Of course, I have my set here that I've had for a long time. That's got your common size bushings in here. I've got a bunch of bushings back here. These are some that I've made over the years for oddball stuff. And this basic set, can't remember what size it goes up to. 1/4 inch. I think there's a 3/8 inch broach in there, and then, like I said, we got some larger ones down here in various sizes. And so there's a 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8. These are, what are these? These are 7/16. That one's a 3/8, different size collar or bushing. That one's a 1/2 inch. There's another 1/2 inch, a little bit different style, and then this 3/4. So this 5/8 will fit real nicely in that area there. And anyway, we're just going to put these down in here and have these available. And like I said, there's some more bushings back there in the back. So while I was down in the Orlando area again, I hooked up with Richard, who gave me a bunch of stuff. But Richard, actually the week that I was down there, he sent me a message and told me he had found a local business in town that was liquidating the contents of a machine shop that had gone out. I think it was, there was a business in town. Actually, it was a woodworking business doing reclaimed lumber, but I think it was the brother of one of the owners had a machine shop and had passed away, I think, and they were basically just trying to liquidate the shop. Well, there had been an auction. A lot of the stuff was already gone, but they kind of had the stuff that was left over from a sale that they had, and it was all laid out kind of back in the shop, and you could just go back there and pick through it. Most of it had prices on it, but Richard told me he'd already been over there, and they were greatly discounting the prices that were on there. They were just trying to get rid of the stuff at that point. So anyway, I went over to take a look. There was actually a lot of good stuff, mostly tooling. And quite honestly, most of the stuff that was there was just stuff I didn't need. I already had lots of it. If, for a new guy getting into it, man, it would have been a gold mine. But for me, most of the stuff was kind of duplicate, so I really passed on it. But I did find a couple items there that I was really excited about. And first off are these rollers or machinery skates. These are say multi-ton on them. I guess that's the company name. Most of the time I see these are made by Hillman, but I don't think these are made by Hillman. Multi-ton, I need to do some research on them. But what these are is you can put these under machines, and they're rollers that they can roll on, and they're made for doing really heavy duty machinery. There's a swivel on two of them. One of them is just a flat, it doesn't swivel. These normally were sold in sets of 4, and we searched and searched and searched. We found 3 of them, and I just decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get the 3 while the getting's good. And if you haven't ever seen these, on the bottom, it's kind of like a Caterpillar tractor. It's like a chain, and you got these individual rollers, and then the whole set rolls as well. And like I said, you can put these underneath the machines. These swivel ones, you can move them around and steer the machine, and you just get behind them and it just rolls right across the floor. These are great for moving heavy duty machinery. I have borrowed some of these from a friend of mine when I've had to move some stuff before, but I was really excited to find these. And anyway, I got that as well as this little spin indexer. This is a 5C collet one that you can just spin on a 5C collet in here, and it has where you can index this thing around for doing whatever you want to hold. Very similar to some of the other little tools that I'd picked up, but this was in excellent shape. It's made by Phase 2, which is a good company, makes high quality stuff, and I couldn't pass it up. So anyway, I picked up these items here. Believe it or not, I asked the guy how much for everything. He said $60. and I couldn't get the money out of my wallet fast enough. Really wish I could have found the fourth one of these. They told me they were going to look for them, and he's got my contact information if he finds them. If they do find them, I think they'll get in touch with me, and hopefully I can get that fourth one, but I really don't think it's there. We looked pretty hard for it. So anyway, nice little addition. Richard, thanks for turning me on to this. Just a few miles from his house where we were at, so we rode over there. And I'm really excited about the machinery skates, because this is something that I've actually been on the lookout for these for quite a while, and they sell for big money on eBay, even used. So I was really tickled when I was able to pick up this set. And even though I don't have the fourth one, a lot of times all you use is 3 anyway. You kind of do a tripod. A mounting up under your machines is actually probably more stable than 4 because of the machine rocks. Sometimes you lose one of them. So 3 is actually pretty good. So pretty excited about this. So next I got a couple of items here that were sent in by Jack Hoying, and I've mentioned Jack several times before. Jack is a friend of mine, I guess. I've met through my YouTube channel. I've actually met him a couple of times. And Jack goes around, he lives up in Ohio, and he goes around to a lot of the estate sales up there, and different guys that are worked in the industry their whole careers, and when they are looking to get rid of a bunch of tools, he'll buy them up and kind of keep what he wants and sell the rest. And he's got a website where he sells all kinds of old machinist tools. Always lots of really cool, interesting things on there. And I'm gonna put a link down here, or show you the link to Jack's website where you can go and look and see if there's any tools that he has that you might be interested in, and I'll put that down in the video description as well. But anyway, I was talking with Jack, and there was a couple of 2J collet sizes that I'm still needing to fill out my collection. When I got one of my lathes, I got a pretty good selection, but I had a few holes in there where I just had some missing collets, and he picked up some 2J collets and had a couple of sizes that I could use. And anyway, I got these from Jack, and he threw in a couple of other items as well. There's a pretty cool little tool here for doing square threading, so for putting in the lathe. It's got a little cutter that you can just keep grinding off, and it has the right profile. It's starting to rain. And here's a 40 taper tool for my milling machine. This got is this a number 4 Jacobs taper on here for like a big chuck. And he also sent along some nice Starrett hacksaw blades. So anyway, thank you, Jack, for the collets. This is going to definitely help fill out my collection. I think as of right now, I took inventory a while ago. I'm still missing 23 30-seconds, 29 30-seconds, and 1 16". So I've only got 3 more sizes, and I'll have a full set of collets for that 2J collet chuck. So anyway, glad to help finish filling out these holes. So the next items here come from Tim Springer, and Tim was kind enough to do some more 3D printing for me. We had shown that in previous odds and ends, with another project that was 3D printed recently. And these are some parts that were drawn up by Charles Marlin. And then he didn't have his 3D printer was not where it would work, so Tim volunteered to do some printing for me. And these are patterns again for a piece that goes on our steam locomotive out at the museum. And specifically, this is an exhaust nozzle that kind of goes up in the smoke box. It's a split pattern, so basically you take the 2 halves here, put them together, and this piece here is really kind of what the outside of the casting will look like. These are core prints. We have the core box. This will be cast into 2 pieces of sand, and basically, you know, if you lay this down in the bottom half of the pattern, this piece, which will be the positive, kind of fits in here. Let me get a Sharpie pen and kind of draw on there what that'll look like. So this past Saturday, I had a chance to do a thing it's become an annual event for me, and that is I went up to Madison, Georgia, to the annual Peach Meet, which is a tool meet that's hosted by the Midwest Tool Collectors Association, MWTCA. And every year they have this tool meet up there in the Madison, Georgia area. And basically people come from all over the Southeast and even all over the country. There's a few vendors that come down from all over. And basically they just have a big room. It's a Lions Club building, and they have tables in there, and the guys just have their collections of tools out, and you know, mostly things that are for sale. Now, the Midwest Tool Collectors Association, quite honestly, most of the tools in there are more woodworking related, a lot of old, hand planes and chisels and just some really cool, really fine tools. But if it's an old tool, it's fair game in there. So there is quite a variety of different things. And unfortunately this year, there really wasn't as much as I have seen in the past as far as machinist tools go. There was probably more people there as far as total vendors though. And I spent a couple hours, me and David King, who's a friend of mine locally, we drove up together and spent a couple hours looking through there. Love it. In my world, there's just nothing better than being in a room full of antique, vintage, beautiful tools. Just to be able to look at things and go through. Now, I ended up not buying a whole lot this year. Quite honestly, there really wasn't. I told David on the way up, I said, there's not a single thing in the world that I can think of that I'd really need right now, but usually when you get up there, you find something that you need. And that was the case. I did find one item that I ended up buying, and this is made by Brown and Sharpe, and it's a little protractor for doing precision angles. And it's scaled out here in degrees and actually down to the 60 minutes within a degree. It's got a vernier scale on there that you can do that. So I thought this might be something that would come in handy at some point in time. So I ended up picking this up. I think I paid $75 for it, which I think was a fair price for it. So anyway, had a great day. Really enjoyed that. If you're into collecting old tools, I would encourage you to go check out Midwest Tool Collectors Association, MWTCA. Here's a link down here to their website. They have these little tool meets literally all over the country in different places. They have a big annual meeting. I've never been to the annual meeting, but I've always heard that one's real good. But they have these things scattered around, and if you love old tools, and if you would even remotely consider yourself a collector of old tools, which I try to tell myself I'm not, but I think that deep down I might be. But it's a great place to go and see stuff. I typically don't go for the ultra rare and, I just got to have this tool that I'll never use. I tend to try to go toward tools that I think I will use because I just enjoy using old tools. But I might be slipping over the edge into collector world a little bit. But anyway, fun time, had a great time at the Peach Meet, got to see quite a few of my viewers up there, had quite a few folks stop me and tell me they watch my videos, and that's always fun to get a chance to chat with folks and see people there. So great time at the Peach Meet this year. All right, guys, that's pretty much going to be a wrap on this one. This episode, quite honestly, kind of snuck in on me. I was on the road literally all week long. I shot an odds and ends video last weekend, and even though I didn't even walk in my shop all week long, we had a lot of stuff kind of materialize, and part of that was due to being down on that trip and being able to hook up with Richard, which had been planned for quite some time. But then we also got some stuff in the mail, Peach Meet came up, so on. So anyway, a lot of new things found their way into the shop this week. This is a busy time of year for me. I've mentioned that before. I'm on the road traveling a lot. That really cuts into my shop time. I know you guys always comment, hey, we want to see you working on stuff in the shop. And believe me, I want to be out here working on projects. What little bit of time that I do have, I'm spending right now on the shop itself. So quite honestly, I've got back in the wood shop, we're working on the ceiling. I've got to move all that stuff that I had piled up on one side of the shop. I got to move it all to the other side of the shop so that we can have another work day. It's just going to be grunt work. It's going to be just moving stuff around, and it's pretty much going to be me doing it by myself. So what little bit of time I have this coming week, I'm actually going to be home this week for the most part. So I got a lot of stuff going on during the day for work, but I can come out here in the evenings and kind of work on some things. Going to try to work some time in and get a little project knocked out so we can have a project video coming up soon. But bear with me, guys. February is going to be tough. I'm on the road. I've got to go to Tampa, Florida. I got to go to Orange Beach, Alabama. I've got another meeting down in Gainesville, Florida. That is basically going to be week-long meetings. This is my meeting season at work, and I spend a lot of time on the road getting ready for our upcoming year. And it takes me from home. And when I'm away from home, it's hard to come out here. It's impossible to come out here and do some videos. I am planning, when I go down to Tampa in a couple of weeks, It happens to coincide with the annual Florida Flywheelers big meet that they have down in Central Florida. And I know quite a few guys go down to that every year. They have a huge swap meet down there. And I'm really looking forward. I've never been able to get down to the Florida Flywheelers, so it's kind of an antique tractor show. They have steam engines, antique tractors, equipment, and stuff like that. But again, I'm really looking, I enjoy looking at antique tractors. I actually am into that. But I'm really more looking forward to getting through the swap meet down there, because I've heard from folks there's lots of cool things. So if anybody's planning on being down at the Florida Flywheelers at the end of February, I'm going to try to be down there for that. Maybe on Friday afternoon and maybe on that Saturday morning. I'm trying to work my schedule out, but looking forward to having that. And maybe I can take the video camera along and get some pictures and video while I'm down at the Florida Flywheelers. Probably going to see Jim Bollinger while I'm down there as well. I think he's going to be coming over. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. Thanks you guys for watching, and we'll get some shop content going here as soon as we can. And hang in there, and appreciate you viewing, appreciate your comments. Leave me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.